Hello, loyal viewers. Patrizio Murdaca here, Chief Web Developer at Drover Rideshare. Today, I want to talk about when life throws curveballs. I'm coming to you live from Philadelphia at the UPenn campus. I'm up here spending a week with my buddy Dave, who's doing an internship at Wharton, and we only get to see each other once a year, so I decided to come and visit him in Philly. Our room sitch is he's subletting an apartment from this guy who goes to UPenn, and he only has one set of keys for the room. Now, since Dave has been at his internship during the day, I've had the keys during the day. Yesterday, which was Thursday, was the first day that I really went out in Philadelphia and explored on my own. I got in Wednesday night, so Thursday I really wanted to start exploring. So I went out to the Philadelphia Museum of Art, which, side note, incredible museum. Fantastic collection. So I'm getting ready to leave. I call my Uber because Drover Rideshare isn't in Philadelphia. Jeff, what's up with that? Anyway, call the Uber. It's like, your Uber's arriving in 1 minute. So I'm like, all right, okay, cool. So I just gather all my stuff, and I do take the keys. I will put that up. I do take the keys. Lock the door, get outside, jump in the Uber, etc. I'm on my way. So I have a good conversation with the driver, get dropped off at the museum, have a wonderful time at the museum, fantastic day. Come back close to 5, meet Dave at the library, and then we walk back to the apartment together. So we get to the front door, and I kind of check my pockets, and I'm like, Dave, wait, where are the keys? And he's like, you have the keys. And I'm like, I don't have the keys. So for the next 4 hours, we undergo the incredibly frustrating ordeal that, as I'm sure some of you have experienced, of not having your keys. There were 2 doors. The first door was the front door, and then the door to his room. So the first step was getting let into the house. We got one of the other guys it was a giant house, like 8 rooms. So we got one of the other people who were living there to come meet us about after half an hour and let us into the actual house. But then once we got in the actual house, it occurred to us that we still don't have the key to the room. No one had a spare key to the room. We called the managing office of the real estate company that leases out the apartments. They didn't have a spare key. Fine. So then we're like, all right, well, how hard could picking a lock possibly be? Let me tell you, picking a lock is very hard. It's very hard. We tried, though. We tried using a butter knife, so, the classic, butter knife, credit card method, and then I even at one point went to CVS, which was like a mile away, to get bobby pins, so that way we could follow a YouTube video on picking a lock with bobby pins. Suffice it to say, none of those worked. So then, while I had gone out to go to CVS to get the bobby pins, David apparently called a professional locksmith and got in a quote, but he didn't ask anyone to show up. He just asked for a quote. They're like, that'll be $100, and we're like, whoa, no thank you. So I get back to the apartment, and then we find out that, and I didn't know that he made this call to the locksmith. So then we call the managing, the realtors again, and say, what are we going to do? And they inform us that there is a maintenance guy who could come out to our location and break the lock for us for $35. So we're like, all right, that's our best bet. Now, it needed to be cash, which I didn't have $35 cash because who carries around cash anymore? Duh. But anyway, so then I go to another store, buy some bananas, get some cash, and then come back. By the time I come back with the cash, there's this guy in a truck sitting outside of the apartment, and I'm thinking, oh great, this is the maintenance guy for $35 that we just called. So I'm like, hey, how are you? This is our place, etc., etc. Then a second car shows up, and then the guy's like, oh hey, I'm Brian, I got called by University Apartments. And we're like, whoa, okay. So then Dave works with Brian from University Apartments, solid guy, by the way, fantastic. And then, so they're working, and then now this other guy is like, oh, hi, yes, I'm here from, such and such locksmith company, and we were called to break the lock. And I'm like, no, we called you for a quote. We didn't actually, request a service. Point being, this guy tried to sit here and negotiate just for a fee for showing up. He's like, that'll be $45 just for showing up. So it took a solid 10 minutes just to try to reason with the guy and to be like, look, we're 2 broke college students here, we can't pay you $45 for showing up and doing nothing to a call we didn't ask you to show up to. Bottom line, he wound up listening and went away, thankfully. And then Brian, the maintenance guy, really came in clutch. Except the apartment, the realtors didn't have a spare key, as I mentioned before. So Brian comes out with a hammer and just starts like going in on this doorknob. So now we're in the room. We have a destroyed doorknob. $35 later for Brian to just destroy the doorknob with a hammer, and no lock. Then it was Uber to Home Depot. We bought a lock, installed it ourselves, which I'm very proud of. Thank you. I'm mechanically inclined. And now the question is, where are the keys? Because they weren't in the room. I thought to myself, oh, maybe I left them in the room. I didn't remember. It was in the morning that I had left. Then it occurred to me, I left the keys in the original Uber's car that I had taken to the museum. Thankfully, Uber has a really great lost item service, so I was able to get in contact with the driver, and he actually dropped them off to me that evening, which included this lanyard. So these are the actual keys that I had lost that he brought back. Had I remembered that it was in the Uber before calling the locksmith, that would have saved some time and money. With that said, I didn't remember that until I actually saw that they weren't in the room. So, yeah, that was our curveball last night. I think the whole ordeal, including installing the new lock, took about 4 hours. With that said, it was a really good experience. I'm glad I had my friend Dave there, because that would have been extremely stressful to deal with on my own. And hopefully, when I'm married someday and we're locked out of our house or something, I'll be able to keep my cool. Circling back to how this is relevant to life or drover, for that matter, I think it's important to, and I still haven't fully mastered this, but I think it's important to just keep positive in the moment, and to realize that you can't, you shouldn't beat yourself up for your mistakes. Meaning, I made the huge mistake of leaving my keys, Dave's keys, in an Uber. But in the end, it was really an interesting experience. I think we definitely grew closer, over the course of 4 hours of being locked out of the apartment. And the important thing is just that you keep your head up and you deal with the situation that you're faced with, and not dwell too much on the past. It's important to learn from the past, but not to beat yourself up over past mistakes, and instead just to deal gracefully with the current situation. Thanks, and happy 4th of July weekend, everyone.